This is the end, my only friend. The Doors are shit. Alright, this is Punisher at the end. This is one of the few Punisher comics I have got. This is from the End series of books, 90% of which are not canon, but the funniest one definitely is. This video goes out to Rodney Wilbercraft Star Eyes with his positive force and his happiness and all that. This comic is written by Garth, who I didn't like, and it's drawn by an amateur. The story itself, though, is basic enough that you can overlook the art and the bad dialogue. This is meant to be like the final Punisher story ever. And what has happened is there's been like a horrible world war. And now America land is all dystopian. And most of it is like a radioactive wasteland. They should never, ever have voted in that Donald Trump fella, if you ask us. But there is a prison that has been largely unaffected by all this. And they've just gotten orders to execute the remaining prisoners. Because, well, it's pretty much the end of the world and they didn't want the prisoners getting out. And the warden and the staff, they are accepting that they're pretty much going to die any minute now. In fact, the warden, he's going to shoot himself with a gun so that he doesn't have to see what is to come. Then we have got a group of guards who have been sent to execute the prisoners. And there's loads of forced cursing with them all effing and jeffing. And that's something I hate about Garth Ennis. He's like an immature 12-year-old who has just discovered swearing. And he is amused by having characters say fuck and cunt all the time. One of the prisoners they have been sent to kill, though, is the Punisher. And obviously, through plot contrivance, Punisher, he is able to beat all these guards and take their weapons and kill them. Garth Ennis, though, he probably couldn't think of a reasonable way to have an hard man Punisher take out 5 guards wearing bulletproof armour and riot gear, each armed with weapons. So instead, we just have a blackout when all this is meant to be happening. And then the Punisher, he escapes from the prison alongside one of his cellmates, who's like a 2-bit con artist. And this duo, they begin a trek across the dystopian America land. This exposes them to loads of radioactivity, so they're like poisoning themselves as they journey. They are heading to New York land because Punisher, he has unfinished business there. So we get to see this post-apocalyptic world through their eyes and through their forced swearing. They both also accept that they are pretty much walking to their deaths. And I would partially recommend this comic. It's got a good overall take on Punisher's character, but it's the dialogue that really lets it down. The dialogue and the unspectacular art. But it's barely worth talking about this issue without covering the ending. So this is going to be a spoiler video. So you have been warned. There is the state of New York land across 2 pages. It's like my favourite singer of all time, Childish Gambler. It's like he says, this is America. Grim stuff. Thank you for that, Mr. Donald Trump. But Punisher, he has gone to New York land in search of a secret fallout shelter where there are meant to be survivors. And he finds it, and then him and his mate, they learn that they are definitely dying of radiation poisoning. And they have like maybe a day left to live. But regardless of that, Punisher, he still has work to do. And he starts fighting and attacking the people in the fallout shelter. And he kills them and takes their guns. And yeah, he does the old Punisher thing of killing stuff with guns and shooting it with bullets. And everyone swears when it is happening. But the reason he is doing this, there's a splash page, by the way. A splash page of Hard Man Punisher shooting some guns. The reason he is doing this is because of the people who are safe in the shelter. They are actually like the corrupt businessmen and the senators and the politicians who pushed the world towards this bleak World War III. And the Punisher, he blames them all for what has happened, and he's going to kill them all with his guns. But then we find out that they are actually the last people still alive in the world. They are the only people still hanging on. Everyone else has died or been killed, or they have succumbed to madness, or they have radiation poisoning. And if Punisher kills them with his guns, then he is killing off the entire human race. So he shoots them all dead with his guns. And then his mate axes why he did it, and Punisher justifies his actions by pointing out that the human race isn't all that because it led to this dark future. And then he confronts his mate about why he was really in the prison. It turns out he wasn't just a con man, but he was an arsonist cunt who killed kids, so Punisher strangles him to death. And the end is, Punisher, the last man alive on Earth, he walks to his death with the hope of being reunited with his dead family. It turns out, I remembered the end wrong. I thought he just shot himself, and I preferred that ending. This is a solid story idea for the Punisher. I have loads of opinions on Punisher being a lead character, but this is a good one-shot and use of the character in that regard. I just didn't like Garth Ellis's usual thing of having everyone pointlessly swearing or just being unpleasantly violent. But I think of all DN books, this one is one of the stronger entries. I rate this 7 thumbs up.